Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name's Caleb Lennon. My pronouns are he, him. And not to ruin the surprise, but I'm one of the awardees tonight. Um, and I feel very honored to be here. Um, so, tonight we have with us Secretary John Laird and Congress member Jimmy Panetta. And I'm going to be asking them a few questions. Okay. So, first off, I'm going to ask you, why is supporting queer and trans youth important to you?
Thank you, Caleb. And hey, John, good to see you again for what's this, the third time?
This is good.
Yeah, it was good that I saw you in person yesterday. So I actually know that you have something below your waist. Good to see you. And Caleb, thank you so much for doing this. And it's such an honor, again, to be here at the Queer Youth Leadership Awards 2020, albeit virtually. I think we'd all rather be here in person, trust me. I think John and I are probably up to our ears in Zoom calls, and so are so many other people who are on this virtual forum tonight. But I think it's so important that you guys continue to do this, and I'm so glad to be a part of it, especially now, especially with such a whirlwind of events that are going on. It's nice that we can come together and focus on something that means so much to so many people, especially when it comes to these Queer Youth Leadership Awards and the LGBTQ plus community. And so it's nice to have this type of award that we can, and I love the first screen that you had on there, which said, speak up for equality, because to me, that is what this is about. And that's what we need to be doing more. And being an ally means more than just supporting. It means defending the LGBTQ community. And so I look forward to doing that when I'm back in Congress in Washington, D.C., as I have been doing and fighting for the Equality Act, but also speaking up and speaking on the House floor every year for the National Day of Silence. This year we had to do it virtually, but we did it for Jaden from Aptos. I want to give a shout out to Jaden, who's hopefully listening in as well. But it's just like I said, making sure that people continue to not just stand with you, but step up and speak up when it comes to the LGBT community. So it's a real honor for me to continue to do that, not just tonight, but every day in the U.S. Congress. So thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
And let me say, it's a pleasure to be here with you as well. I really wish, just like Jimmy said, we were able to be here in person. I have been to many of these since the very first one. And I think the question about what's important, it's interesting because tomorrow is National Coming Out Day. And I was asked by Equality California to do a quote that they would use tomorrow. And I sort of thought about it for a second. And it occurred to me to say that in 1983, I was one of the first 3 openly gay mayors in history in the United States. And when that happened, they took national polls that said over a half of the Americans responding to the polls thought they did not know a gay person. They did not know an out person. And of course they did. They just didn't know because it took a lot of courage. It was against the law to be gay in most states. You could be fired in all 50 states for being openly gay. And so that's why people weren't coming out. So when you ask what the question is about why it's important to be open, it's because that's a statement. It's authentic, it's personal. I was never more exhilarated in my life than I was a front page story for a period of time all over Northern California. But I can't describe over the years the number of people that came to me and said, thank you. It's like you gave me the courage to do it. And so that's why it's important for people to be out, because there's safety in numbers. And I think now a part of the issue is still bullying and people that are younger being threatened by coming out. And so it's important to come out because amazingly, that's the best protection. It's pretty hard at that point for somebody to claim that they're not discriminating, that they're not bullying. And if you look at some of the adults that have struggled with it to this time, their big mistake is not being clear, and then they are leveraged on it. So it's really important. That's why it's important. And that's why Jimmy and I are here, because it's important for us to be supportive of people that are doing that.
Thank you so much. This next question, Congressmember Jimmy Panetta already kind of touched on it a little bit, but it is the Quila theme this year is Speak Up for Equality. How do you express your voice as an ally? Whoever wants to take that.
Yeah, I appreciate. I'll just speak from the national perspective and what we're doing in Washington, D.C. Obviously, like I said, there have been a number of bills that have been introduced, and we're so proud that we not only introduced, but we passed the Equality Act, which we're able to obviously amend the 1964 Civil Rights Act to include, basically explicitly include, sexual orientation and gender identity as protected characteristics. And that if that bill passes, it will prohibit discrimination in public spaces and services and in any federally funded programs on the basis of sex. And so it's something that to me and to many people in Washington, D.C., especially in the Democratic majority Congress, it's a no-brainer. But know that it's in the Senate right now. And we will hopefully see what happens after November 3rd with what Democrats are going to do, not just here on the Central Coast, but across this country, when it comes to not just holding this administration accountable and electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but also their Senate members and having a Senate that's willing to step up and defend equality, especially in Washington, D.C. But I'm glad John mentioned the bullying, because there's also another bill that we're working on called the Safe Schools Improvement Act, which requires school districts in states that receive education funds to adopt codes of conduct specifically prohibiting bullying, harassment, which is done on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So know that these are issues that we're not just talking about in Washington, D.C., we're actually putting them forward as legislation and fighting for them and fighting for you as well.
And let me just add, because you asked about allies. Obviously, I'm a member of the community, but you know, we make great gains because of allies like Jimmy Panetta, and one of them happened this year. And it's interesting because in California, Deborah Johnson, who may be attending tonight, I don't know, Reverend Deborah, about 40 years ago in Los Angeles, she was part of a group that sued on the state UNRRA Civil Rights Act. And they sued that the UNRRA Civil Rights Act said that you can't discriminate based on race and gender and a few other things, but it did not include sexual orientation. And so they sued alleging that that law included sexual orientation, even though it didn't explicitly state it. And they won that court case. And so for 40 years, there's been protection under the state civil rights law for people based on sexual orientation because of that lawsuit. And about 15 years ago, I did a bill in the legislature because I felt like, you know, that court suit is great. It is generally settled law, but don't rely on it totally. So I actually did a bill that amended the UNRRA Civil Rights Act and added categories that weren't explicitly named. Gender identity, sexual orientation, and it passed. And I convinced a Republican governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to sign it. And so lo and behold, the Supreme Court earlier this year issued the same decision federally that the California courts did 40 years ago. They said that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 affects non-discrimination for categories that aren't explicitly named in the act. And so sexual orientation was protected under what the federal Supreme Court did. And they got to where California was 40 years ago. And one of the things Jimmy is talking about is in many ways following along legislatively to try to make sure that legislatively you do things that the court might have done to make sure that it's actually explicit in law. And if this election comes out the right way, even though this is a nonpartisan, neutral forum, if the election comes out the right way, there might be people positioned there to do exactly what we did in California 15 years ago, which is follow the court suit with an explicit law that makes sure that you can't roll back that kind of protection that was extended by the courts. And we saw two of the justices, Alito and Thomas, say recently that they didn't like the marriage decision of 5 years ago. And so it's why it's important to actually put into law some of these protections so that a court can't roll it back. So that's, and you see, even though your question was about allies, it was a lot of allies that participated in those decisions to make them happen.
Thank you for those answers. And now we're about to start the 23rd Annual Virtual Queer Youth Leadership Awards.
Thank you. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, John.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I can't stay for the whole awards because ironically, I am going to a virtual Stonewall Democrats event out of Sacramento. So I'm so glad to have been here on the red carpet. Congratulations on the award that hasn't been announced yet. And I wish everybody good luck tonight for a great ceremony.
Exactly. Congratulations. Thanks, John. Thanks, Caleb. Have a great event. Thanks, Tony.
I speak up for equality because I believe everyone deserves to be heard and that everyone should have a place to speak.
I'm glad that our community has come so far, but the true equality that we strive for is still a major work in progress.
It aggravates me to see ignorant people be mean to other people because they're just being themselves.
When I look at the staggering statistics of mental health challenges faced by our LGBTQ+ youth, dangerously overrepresented in the incidence of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation, I am moved to speak up.
This world has come a long way since the Stonewall riots, but I still think that we need to go farther and we need to make this place truly safe for all groups.
I just want to take initiative and educate people and hopefully try to make the LGBTQ community feel more safer in my own community.
Just being able to give people the safe space that they deserve.
Seeing my friends who are also in the community and wanting to be vocal.
I always want to speak up for my students and for the friends who have supported me throughout the years.
Kids, our grandkids, freedom, and community.
Everyone deserves the right to be themselves, express themselves, and be happy.
We're all born with the right to be treated with dignity and respect, and with that right comes a responsibility.
And so if I can use my voice and my privilege to create systemic change, to make people feel safe and cared for, then I have a responsibility to do that.
As a white passing Mexican, I want to be able to use my privilege and speak up about the racism and injustice in America.
Our differences can make us stronger, and you don't just need one type of person, you really need everybody to have a functional team, and that's true of our world also.
I know that when everybody has what they need to succeed and reach their highest potential, that we're all better for it.
Everyone should be treated equally, no matter what is unique about them. Everyone is different in their own way, and that's what makes the world so interesting and colorful.
What motivates me to speak up for equality is the idea that the work I'm doing today will mean that one day people will be safer than they are now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 23rd Annual Virtual Queer Youth Leadership Awards.
My name is Isaac Ludington.
And my name is Lucy Ludington.
And tonight, we will be your MCs. We want to welcome you to our special virtual event. While we can't be together in person this year, we hope that you find joy and inspiration in our live-streamed awards show.
2020 has been a year unlike any other. This past school year in particular was a challenge for many of our youth, and so many of our LGBTQIA+ youth leaders rose to the occasion and demonstrated leadership and grace.
You were just greeted by some of these leaders with this year's Youth, Ally, and Organizational nominees.
The New Brighton Middle School Queer Straight Alliance, or QSA, who were to host the awards before our event went virtual, chose the theme of Speak Up for Equality. The theme was chosen to empower other queer youth to speak up for their rights, the rights that should be granted to them. This is an important topic, especially right now. Many queer students are faced with fear to come out and speak up to their peers. This is why the New Brighton Middle School QSA felt this was an important theme for this year's Queer Youth Leadership Awards.
Our opening video compilation mirrored tonight's theme of Speak Up for Equality.
Equality is a word that has been on a lot of people's minds these past few months. What do we need to do to make an equal and equitable world for all people?
The lives of everyone on the planet have been changed by the coronavirus pandemic, and we know the Black and Latinx communities are disproportionately affected by the virus, both in Santa Cruz County and across the country.
Since May, our country has risen up once again to protest against police brutality and the oppression of Black people in America. Millions marched to demand justice for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tony McDade, Elijah McClain, and the nearly 2,000 Black Americans killed by police in the past 7 years. Protests continue to take place across the country.
Black and brown folks started the Stonewall Uprising, which led to the modern LGBTQ+ civil rights movement. Yet queer activism often centers only on white voices and experiences. Our community needs to do more.
To quote the revolutionary Angela Davis, "If one looks at the history of struggles against racism in the US, no change has ever happened simply because the president chose to move in a more progressive direction. Every change that has happened has come as a result of mass movements."
We need to keep the momentum of this mass movement going. Black lives matter. Black trans lives matter. Black futures matter. Black joy and laughter and love matter.
It is our responsibility to keep shouting these truths and demanding that those in power work to change the structural racism on which our country was founded.
We must continue to hold those in power accountable, continue to engage in difficult conversations with friends and family, and continue to center and amplify Black voices in all that we do.
Together, we can change the narrative and create the future we want. We owe that to ourselves, to our Black and POC community members, and to our youth.
Thank you for joining with us tonight as we all go forward together, as we grow in support and unity toward increasing racial justice.
We also want to acknowledge the devastating fires that tore through our mountain communities and disrupted so many lives. We would like to welcome Samuel Udo with a message of hope for our community.
Samuel is a Scotts Valley High School alum and spent the summer at Big Basin State Park as an interpretive aide. He is now at the Santa Cruz County Clerk's Office working on the election. While at Scotts Valley High, he was involved in student government as a student body treasurer and Peer Advocates, a student-run anti-bullying organization.
Samuel created a video as a tribute to the resiliency of the redwood trees, and it went viral. This is part of that video.
Hey folks, my name is Sam and I'm an interpreter at Big Basin Redwood State Park. While many of the structures in Big Basin have burned down, there is still reason for hope. Many of the old growth trees in the park are still standing tall, as they have done so for thousands of years. Though the fire was extremely devastating, many of the redwoods in the park survived, and I'm relieved to know that the forest will regrow and regenerate. One of the most inspiring aspects about redwoods is that they grow in communities, and their roots may be shallow, but they can interlock with the roots of surrounding redwoods to create a strong network of support, much like our community in the Santa Cruz Mountains that has rallied around the evacuees, those that have lost their homes, and the first responders that are doing their best to fight the fire. We've seen a tremendous amount of generosity and support during the past week, leaning on loved ones and even strangers in these times of need. And on behalf of the employees and volunteers at Big Basin Redwood State Park, and in the spirit of the redwoods and the resilience of the redwood trees, I'd like to share a song with you. Sometimes in my life, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. If we are wise, we'll know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a road you have to bear that you can't carry, I'll ride up the road, I'll share your love. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Hey folks.
Thank you, Samuel, for that beautiful song.
Tonight, our purpose is to celebrate our queer youth leaders and their allies who are working to make the world a more inclusive and equitable place for everyone.
Great progress has been made in the past 23 years since the Queer Youth Leadership Awards was established, and we have cause to celebrate. Even in the face of discrimination that is aimed our way, we keep moving forward, empowering ourselves and working with our families, friends, and greater community institutions to make sure we are all safe and living a life out loud and proud. But we are not done progressing.
For over 23 years, the Queer Youth Leadership Awards has brought together public officials, community members, families, students, seniors, faith groups, and local businesses to honor queer youth and allies.
We are honored and pleased that you are here with us tonight, along with so many that are watching from home. Thank you.
This event is produced by the Queer Youth Task Force and is made possible by the generous support of our co-sponsors and supporters. We thank them for their help so that we may celebrate the annual Queer Youth Leadership Awards, also known as QYLA.
Now, we want to thank a few individual people, businesses, and groups.
Jeremy Whalen, who produced our videos in the show, and Rebecca Stark Photography, who truly captured the spirit of the youth and ally nominees in her photos.
Scott Blackwell, who created all the digital programs, as well as Jordan Iverson of Iverson Design, who created the QYLA website.
We also want to thank our dearly departed Bonnie Ronzio, QYLA's stage director, who created the template for tonight's show before she passed away this year. Bonnie produced our show for the past 19 years, and we sorely miss her. And we thank Charlie Singer, affectionately known as Bonnie's stage left, as QYLA's assistant stage director and MC coach. Both Bonnie and Charlie have developed this show since 2002. Great examples of what it takes to make change happen. They worked it. Their volunteerism continues to be an inspiration.
We have arrived at an incredible moment in history for the LGBTQ+ people. This year marks the 51st anniversary of the Stonewall riots in New York City, where in 1969, sheroes like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, just two of many trans women of color, along with many young people, not only gave visibility to what is now the LGBTQ+ community, but launched all kinds of activism across this country. The last 51 years has seen a wealth of leadership across the spectrum.
This year, we saw our community come together for the first ever virtual Santa Cruz Pride in June, and again in August with Connected in Pride, an unprecedented collaboration between Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.
We also held our first ever LGBTQIA+ graduation celebration to honor and celebrate our queer and trans graduates from middle, junior high, and high school. And the Santa Cruz MA launched its first online exhibit entitled Queer Santa Cruz.
We have accomplished so much and transformed the lives of so many of us in so many ways. However, we realize we have much more work to do, all of us. So we, as young citizens, stand committed to do what we can to continue the work started by the generations before us to further justice and equality in our schools, county, state, and country. Tonight, we celebrate and commit to this direction.
On the QYLA website, there is a gender pronoun guide. Pronouns, the words that you use to refer to someone, such as she, they, or he, are an important way for people to reflect their gender identities. Since not everyone identifies as male or female, not everyone uses he or she pronouns.
For example, someone who identified as having no gender might use they, them pronouns. Honoring folks' pronouns is a really great step for getting trans and non-binary people recognized and respected. This has always been important, yet public awareness of pronouns have only arisen in the last few years.
Using correct pronouns means you're being respectful.
My gender pronouns are she, her. What are your gender pronouns?
Thank you for letting me know. My gender pronouns are he, him.
Even now, with so many events in schools being online, there are ways to share and respect each other's pronouns. You may have noticed that we included our pronouns in our Zoom screen names.
This is a quick and easy way to raise awareness of and include pronouns in your online meetings.
In addition to the bios of the nominees, you will also find lots of other useful information on the QYLA website. For example, we have some important information from the Safe Schools Project about bullying, including cyberbullying.
Along with the support of our schools and community, it is also important to have the support from our elected officials, most of which attend QYLA yearly. We are missing them this year.
Tonight, we welcome Dr. Faris Sabbah, Santa Cruz County Superintendent of Schools, who was elected in 2018. Dr. Sabbah is a tireless advocate for diversity, education, and equity for our schools across Santa Cruz County and the state. He has worked in many positions in schools across the county, including a school administrator, teacher, and instructional aide. He speaks 3 languages and has 2 sons, one of whom just started high school. He continues to be a strong ally and advocate for the importance of inclusivity and safe school climates for LGBTQ+ youth.
Recently, he sponsored the kickoff for LGBTQ+ History Month, along with youth, teachers, and community members. He invites you to join him in participating in the LGBTQ+ History Month Challenge. Find that info and other resources in support of queer and trans families on the Santa Cruz County Office of Education website.
And now for a special message from Dr. Sabbah.
My name is Faris Sabbah. I have the pleasure of serving as your Santa Cruz County Superintendent of Schools. It's my honor to join you today to celebrate and listen to the stories of our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, pansexual, intersex, asexual, and ally youth leaders of Santa Cruz County. The annual Queer Youth Leadership Awards is a tradition that sends a message that celebrates the diverse identities and achievements of LGBTQ+ people who make our community a culturally richer and more vibrant place. The LGBTQ+ youth and allies we celebrate tonight continue to make a lasting positive impact in our world. Some of them have done this by taking remarkable actions to help make their schools and communities safer spaces. Others have demonstrated impactful leadership by standing out and being proud and true to themselves. Their visibility helps create environments that help make others feel welcomed and embraced. Tonight, as we celebrate the progress we've made to end all forms of prejudice, discrimination, and violence towards LGBTQ+ people, we must also recognize that the pursuit of justice, safety, and true inclusion of all identities is ongoing. Fear and acts of violence disproportionately affect our LGBTQ+ youth, especially our Black, Indigenous, and Latinx LGBTQ+ youth of color. While we celebrate our young leaders tonight, we must also take pause and recognize the many other LGBTQ+ students in our community who are unable to be here tonight due to these very real dangers. Together, by continuing to recognize, support, and uplift the voices of our LGBTQ youth, we can help rewrite the caustic narratives that attempt to politicize and weaponize love and identity. We have an opportunity to celebrate our diversity in race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, and ability as a source of strength that can help catalyze a shift toward justice and fairness for all in our community. We stand in solidarity with all our students who are leading the way to a better future for people of all identities. Thank you to all the school personnel and community partners, such as the Queer Youth Task Force of Santa Cruz County, who have supported our LGBTQ+ youth and leaders. It is an honor to join you to be part of this important event. And congratulations to this year's Quaila awardees.
Thank you, Dr. Sabbah, for joining us tonight and taking the time to show your support for our LGBTQ+ youth. Now, we would like to tell you a little about QILA, its purpose, and the awards themselves.
The mission of the Queer Youth Leadership Awards is to improve the lives of queer youth by increasing the positive awareness of queer youth leadership. This, in turn, contributes to the growth of safe and welcoming environments in home, school, and community. There are 3 award categories.
Number 1,
the Queer Youth Leadership Award.
Number 2,
the Ally to Queer Youth Award.
And number 3,
the Organizational Ally to Queer Youth Award.
Tonight, there are 4 awardees from 4 schools in Santa Cruz County. The awardees have been selected through a county-wide nomination process and by a panel of judges who are prominent members of our community. The 4 awardees will receive a personal gift of $250, and following the tradition of QILA to encourage youth to become visionaries in our community, each awardee will be given $500 to apply to a local project or to a local nonprofit that is creating a better tomorrow for the residents of our county.
We would like to recognize Kathy Citron and Dr. Jen Hastings, who facilitated the judging process.
We also want to thank Alicia Nahara, who has been part of QILA since 1998, for her being an inspiration to the QILA judging process. This year, we are especially proud to have 3 youth and young adult judges who were previous QILA awardees join adult judges in selecting our awardees.
Youth and young adult judges included Adrian Valoria, college student, 2016 Queer Youth Leadership Awardee and Creating Change Youth Ambassador, Chabelle Wilhite, Cabrillo College student, 2018 Queer Youth Leadership Awardee and Creating Change Youth Ambassador, and JT Leem, Santa Cruz High School student and a 2018 Queer Youth Leadership Awardee.
Our adult judges included Adam Spickler, Cabrillo College trustee, Doran Comerchero, Executive Director of Food What? Ellen Timberlake, Retired Human Services Director, County of Santa Cruz, Keisha Browder, CEO of the United Way of Santa Cruz County, Dr. Lisa Gutierrez Wong, Director of Children's Behavioral Health, Santa Cruz County, and Dr. Shane Hill, Clinical Psychologist and Community Volunteer.
We thank all the prestigious judges for their work and time in selecting this year's awardees.
So now, let's introduce this year's nominees.
This year, we have 11 outstanding queer youth nominees from all across our county.
Queer youth leadership is not easy. It's a task that often requires a young student to step out of their comfort zone to make an impact on others. And we know it's not just about being queer. It's how our young people develop their talents and make themselves and our community a better place.
The 2020 Queer Youth nominees are
Abby Sotelo, Vice President of New Brighton Middle School's QSA and a leader who has demonstrated growth in her confidence.
Anthony Flores, senior at Watsonville High School and an activist for the rights of both the LGBTQ+ and mental health communities.
Caleb Lennon, GSA President at Cypress Charter High School, who worked with Live Oak School District to guide policies that support diversity and inclusion.
Camila Snyder-Alanis and Matthew Dominichelli, co-presidents of Santa Cruz High School Rainbow Alliance Club, who have helped the club regain momentum.
Guillermo Mares Cervantes, Vice President of Watsonville High School's Saga Club, who helped plan the Fall 2019 Queer, Trans, and Allied Student Summit.
Jaden Hernandez Cordero, Delta High School QSA leader and member of the Queer and Trans Youth Council, who helped create an LGBTQ+ training for school staff.
Linus Harless, President of Soquel High School's QSA and Feminist Club, who collaborated with Soquel ASB to celebrate National Coming Out Day.
Nick Perry, student and leader at Sequoia Junior High School, who started the school's first GSA, where he collaborates with staff to plan meetings.
Reyes Morales Warney, San Lorenzo Valley High School student who helped put on and compose the theme for the Fall 2019 Queer and Trans Student Summit.
And Tabitha Humble, student at New Brighton Middle School and president of her school's QSA, who helps plan club meetings.
Congratulations to our youth nominees. Now, let's get to know more about our youth nominees with a video montage.
When I first found out I was nominated, I was definitely in shock.
Honestly, astoundment and amazement. I wasn't expecting it at all. I don't think Matthew was either.
I was really surprised, but I was also really happy.
I didn't quite understand what it meant to be a QILA nominee.
Although I greatly appreciate that someone was kind enough to think of me and nominate me, I still can't help but think that there are many other people who are a lot more qualified for this award.
It was nice to know that there was someone watching the work that I was doing.
I was also really happy I had the chance to work with other youth.
It's such a huge honor to be nominated for the same award as all the other nominees who are such impressive individuals and so important to our community.
One project that I was really excited to be working on was my school's fall production last year.
The Watsonville High Saga Club.
The Queer and Trans Youth Council.
My school's Gender and Sexuality Alliance.
Rebuilding my school's GSA and in the Queer Youth Task Force.
Being the president at the QSA of my high school that I just graduated from.
Trying to get more inclusive sex ed at schools.
To create a classroom or area in the school where students can just go and relax and just, try to detach from any negative energy that they're feeling.
We put on a play called Indecent by Paula Vogel, and it just so happened to be my first experience acting on stage, and it was incredible.
It also has given me the opportunity as vice president to grant a safe space for all Watsonville High students and also focus on intersectionality.
We worked on an inclusive educational training for schools and their staff members. It has really inspired me, honestly, to continue advocating for the ones around me and my community.
We put on the gender-affirming clothing swap. As the president, I felt so proud to see the turnout. It was such a great way to help out folks who might not have access to gender-affirming clothing at home.
I was able to get a float for homecoming because it happened to fall on the same day as coming out day. I'm very proud of that project.
Talked about our stories, especially with sex ed at our schools, and we also learned about how we can make sex ed more inclusive at our schools.
And it was just so inspiring to see everybody come together and practice not only supporting the community, but also environmental sustainability.
We can extend our reach not only from the queer youth, but also to everybody in the community and make sure that everybody feels safe.
This year's Quila theme of speaking up for equality I think is really important, and I'm really glad that they chose it because that's what I try to embody whenever I do any of my work.
I would say how I express my voice is through my art and through my music.
A way that I do this is by implementing my straightforward and blunt nature into my everyday life.
A lot of my self-expression definitely has its roots in creativity.
While I might not be as outspoken as many other people, I believe that I do make an impact talking to those that I am close and helping to make sure that their ignorance is at least being called out so that they may see change.
One way I express my voice and speak up for equality is definitely being part of panels.
Publicly displaying who I am and who I'm advocating for, whether that be Black Lives Matter, the Trevor Project, the queer community, more people in my community of color.
Encouraging the use of pronouns with my peers and family members. I've also worked with other youth leaders in creating and presenting an inclusive educational training.
I want to make sure that everybody speaks up and has a voice and is able to talk to other people.
You know, it's kind of hard being out at school and just having kids who understood and having kids who would listen to your struggle and you would listen to theirs. That felt really nice.
I express my voice by standing up for my community.
One of the ways that I express it is by showing up to rallies, showing up to protest, and most importantly is by voting.
Honestly, it disappoints me that only 58% of eligible voters casted their ballots in 2016.
It makes me feel very disheartened that people aren't using the chance of their own freedom to be able to act and to be able to make the world something that they believe is a better world.
Lately, I've been trying to channel that frustration into encouraging young people to register to vote. I think a big part of the low voter turnout is that it can be an intimidating process and isn't always accessible to everyone.
In the past 4 years, I've started high school and I've learned way more about how the world works and how important it is to vote.
I think everyone should vote, and I think not voting really limits your voice from being heard because it's really important to vote because that determines what your world is going to end up looking like.
I think it's really important to start teaching people about the voting process from a young age. Not only how important voting is, but how empowering it is to have a say in something you care about.
One of the things we can do to encourage people to vote is simply by educating them on the propositions, educating them on who the candidates are.
So just exposing the things that are currently going on in America that are kind of forgotten about and never talked about.
But I believe that we can empower individuals by educating them as much as we can and encouraging more people to do the same thing, and that their voices and votes actually matter and that we can really make a difference in this election together.
My vision for a truly inclusive society is a society that doesn't turn its back on people who are suffering within their community.
Bringing back mental health services for people who need it.
It's always open up to new ideas and it's always trying to better itself.
Acknowledging past wrongs and really listening to what different communities need to not just survive but thrive.
Every movement, every person that stands up, every voice that speaks out makes the world a better place.
A society where everyone gets what they need and gets heard and treated equally with respect, and where we have compassion for one another and where we can hold each other accountable when needed.
One day, I feel that we will reach this, and it is important to work towards it.
We have the ability to make change. The question is, are you willing to make that change?
It is now time to present the first Queer Youth Award of the evening. Throughout the night, we will continue to announce the youth awardees in between our performances and presentations. So let's get started. We are now proud to announce the first awardee of the 23rd Annual Queer Youth Leadership Awards.
Our first awardee is Anthony Flores. Anthony began his role in activism as an 8th grader at Alianza Charter School, where he helped lay the foundation for the school's GSA club. Anthony is passionate about educating others about mental health and ending the stigma of mental illness.
At Watsonville High, Anthony co-created the school's Wellness Center to provide students a safe place to access resources. Anthony is described as someone who embodies all of the characteristics of an empathetic leader.
And now, let's hear from Anthony Flores.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the QILA for making me an awardee. I would like to thank Ms. Nunez, my best friend Yvette, and also the Watsonville High School administration for allowing me to even continue with the Wellness Center project. The way the Wellness Center project came about was when me and my best friend were on a bus ride home from a field trip, and we were thinking, what can we do for our graduation project, a CAP project? And we talked about how so many students at Watsonville High School had either mental health issues or something going on. And so we wanted to make sure that they were being heard or being seen, and that they had a safe place at our school to be able to, take some time to, open up all of that. And so we quickly got together with Ms. Nunez, our social emotional counselor, and our administration, and we got it approved. And by winter, we had the Wellness Center open, and students actually came in and they were so happy. And they were very thankful because they felt that now they had a safe place to go to instead of ditching or staying home. And also because there's a social emotional counselor there, and we have other resources, flyers from Monarch Resources or mental health resources, LGBTQ resources, they feel comfortable and they feel welcome. And I think everyone should take initiative, and all students across the United States should always ask their schools and ask their school districts for a wellness center or for more mental health services. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again to Anthony.
And now we'd like to mention that this has been a difficult year for everyone, especially those who are raising us while trying to work from home or while risking their health to work as essential workers while their children are home from school. From foster parents to guardians, parents, and the extended family who have raised us, helped us learn, and watched over us, we want to thank you for your love, support, devotion, guidance, and direction.
Parent organizations also serve as important lifelines to our community. And in Santa Cruz County, we'd like to extend all the parents, grandparents, and guardians that are part of the Trans Family Support Group and PFLAG Santa Cruz County our gratitude for being there for us all.
Teachers and counselors can also be a vital life support to queer youth. To all the adults in our lives, including our valued GSA, QSA, and SAGA advisors, we are extremely grateful to you for listening to us and celebrating who we are on a daily basis. We know your jobs have changed in unexpected and difficult ways, and we thank you for all you do to keep us focused and feeling safe while we learn from home.
As we sheltered in place, we started to realize all the things we had taken for granted. Hanging out with friends during GSA meetings, being able to hug loved ones, and having our teachers sit next to us to help us learn.
Somehow it both seems like an eternity and only a few days that we've been living this new life together.
Thank you for reaching out to us when we were sheltering in place and for understanding how hard this has been on us. Thank you for hosting virtual GSA, QSA, and SAGA meetings, and for helping us keep connected to you and to each other. You have been a lifeline to so many of us, and we can't wait till we are able to see you again in person. Thank you.
Now, we'd like to share a musical experience that impressed and inspired us.
We would like to welcome Liam Walters, who will be singing a song they wrote called Broken Heartbeat. Liam writes about the rejection of a loved one.
Let's give a warm welcome to Liam.
I don't trust this thing that beats inside of my chest, 'cause you fooled me once, now I'm depressed. A broken heart was such a foul pest. And so now I need to look away and just rest. And love brought me in and I took a sip. It showed me things and it made me think of the one who promised me a wedding ring. But instead he broke my heart and let me bleed. There was a pain that grew deep inside of me, 'cause the love kept falling short, but I chose to ignore it. And my mind kept telling me to just leave him, but I still see him in my dreams, or so it seems. And when he stole my heart, he turned out to be the slickest thief. It blows me away how you could fall for someone so easy, like autumn leaves and daisy seeds. Love brought me in and I took a seat. It showed me things and it made me think of the one who promised me a wedding ring, but instead he broke my heart and stole my wings. Oh, yeah, my love for this person had the vibe all wrong, but I never really noticed until he was gone. Yeah, sometimes my pain was so dreadful and I couldn't speak at all, but I knew it didn't matter at all. No, 'cause I can already hear them yawning. No, oh. And a broken heartbeat is all I hear now.
Thank you, Liam, for that heartfelt song. Your song speaks to the pain and rejection so many LGBTQ plus youth feel. We are grateful for the many leaders in our community that work tirelessly to create a world where all of our queer and trans youth feel accepted and loved.
And now we get to announce tonight's second Queer Youth Leadership awardees who share an award.
The award goes to Camila Snyder-Alanis and Matthew Dominichelli. Camila and Matthew are a dynamic pair who lift each other up and work in harmony to raise the visibility of the Santa Cruz High School Rainbow Alliance. Camila is described as poised and honest, and Matthew as gentle and thoughtful.
Together, they have spoken on several panels for educators, assisted in coordinating a panel of speakers for National Coming Out Day, and hosted a queer movie night for GSAs across Santa Cruz County.
And now, let's hear from Camila Snyder-Alanis and Matthew Dominichelli.
I'm Matthew Dominichelli. I use he, him pronouns. I think this goes without saying,
but me and Camila were both so honored to have even been nominated for this award, and we just wanted to thank a few people. Thank you to Stuart, Ashlyn, and Ren from the Diversity Center, Kinnison, and to our Vice Principal, Rishi Lal. They really helped give us into pursuing LGBTQ activism, which really helped us to take the initiative to join the clubs, go to the events, speak on the panels, and so much more. If it wasn't for them, I don't think we'd be where we are today. They really inspired us to pursue this, and I think it's really crucial to inspire more of our young queer folk to come out and try and make a change. Because the more people that can come out and try and make a change, the faster we can come to actual systemic changes. I'm going to be splitting money to the Diversity Center to try and give back to the great sense of community that they've given me throughout their weekly youth group program, and the other half to the Fire Response Fund to help all those who have suffered from the recent fires. Thank you.
And I'm Camila Snatter-Alanis. I use she, her pronouns. I also wanted to thank all the folks that Matthew mentioned, specifically Kinnison Gallagher and Rishi Lal. Matthew and I became friends at the beginning of freshman year when we went to the 2018 Queer Youth Summit. There we met Stuart and learned about the numerous opportunities available for queer youth. A few months later, Rishi, our school's vice principal, called us into his office with a proposition. He saw our ambition as little freshmen and offered us an opportunity to breathe new life into Rainbow Alliance. Our school's GSA was in need of new leadership. We could be the new co-presidents and share the responsibility. Matthew and I are now both juniors, and looking back on freshman and sophomore year is surprisingly nostalgic. I remember the panels, summits, and the iconic Baymek Brunch Conference, where we congaed off the stage after introducing ourselves to an intimidatingly large audience. I will be forever grateful to Stuart, Kinnison, and Rishi for their continued encouragement, and I look forward to a future full of more collaboration. Thank you, and again, we are so honored to have won.
Congratulations to Camila and Matthew.
We are now pleased to announce this year's Ally to Queer Youth nominees, 6 empowering individuals who make life better for so many.
Allies are great resources and support to queer and trans students, and our community is fortunate to be able to honor such individuals for the lifeline they offer. From teachers and parents to leaders of organizations, we thank them for being active allies supporting our youth. Our ally nominees are
Dr. Faris Sabbah, Superintendent for the Santa Cruz County Office of Education, who has made equity a cornerstone of his work.
Michelle Brandt, co-facilitator for Trans Families of Santa Cruz County, a supportive parent, and a tireless ally to LGBTQ+ youth.
Michelle Bellabert, math teacher at Sequoia High Schools, who advocated for the creation of the school's first GSA.
Ryan Bosson, a Spanish teacher and QSA advisor at Soquel High School, who has helped increase both club attendance and impact.
Shannon Kelly, high school director at Mount Madonna School, who revived the school's GSA this year and helped plan several events.
And Yvette Castillo, student at Watsonville High School and one of the founding creators of the school's new wellness center.
Now, let's hear our allies' voices with their own video montage.
That I was nominated for a Queer Youth Leadership Award, my first reaction was surprise.
I was truly surprised.
I was surprised, I was excited, and I was humbled.
I was in disbelief. I was truly humbled. And when I think about all the amazing people and the great work that they are doing in our community on behalf of the LGBTQ community, I really felt like I wasn't worthy of this nomination.
I really hope somebody more fun than me wins this award.
But then as I let it sink in and I thought about the work that our QSA has done and that the work I've been able to be a part of, that surprise shifted to pride.
Because I know there are so many people doing amazing work, and just was very humbling to be considered for this award.
It's just something I believe everyone should do for their fellow human beings.
This year, one project that I've been working on that I'm really, really proud about and excited about is I formed a equity and inclusion group.
The Understanding Gender Workshop.
Contacting as many current and former students and their families and finding out who in their household is eligible to vote.
Advisor for a Queer Straight Alliance that has showed up as a powerful voice in homecoming.
The County Office of Education has been working on an exciting new project to celebrate LGBTQ+ History Month.
We've spent the last several months exploring our mission statement, our values, looking at curriculum.
We are very excited to be able to share information with parents and adult allies.
The students and their family members have reached out to their friends and their friends' families and have encouraged them to register to vote. And so that's truly inspiring for me.
And I'm just really proud of the safe, inclusive space that our QSA has brought to Soquel High School.
It'll be fun, it'll be an exciting opportunity to build awareness of the many inequities our LGBTQ community faces and the enormous contributions that they make to our community.
I've learned so much from the process, and it's interesting work and it's really powerful work, and I'm proud of what we've been doing.
The QILA theme of Speak Up for Equality is a lifelong mantra of mine. I take it to heart to advocate for my students and their families, especially the ones that have been discriminated against and haven't found their own voices yet.
I feel that it is my responsibility to stand up for individuals and communities that have been silenced and marginalized and oppressed.
The primary thing for me to do as an ally is to educate myself first.
So that we can see when injustices are happening and when it's necessary to speak up and use our voices and our privilege to stand up.
Be able to have conversations with people that are in my same shoes or in similar shoes to me and lead by example.
When I found out that 58% of eligible voters and no more voted in the 2016 election, I was really sad and extremely let down.
It's disheartening that more people don't vote. I think that what we need to do is to help our community recognize our elected leaders, our judicial appointees, our laws, how they have a direct impact on our lives, whether it's in how we run our schools, the rights that we have, our policies and funding to address climate change. So many in our community, especially our youth, feel disenfranchised by the political system.
To encourage and empower my students, especially when they say my vote doesn't matter, I have them analyze the data, calculate projections of what could have been. I have them read, listen, and watch people tell their personal stories of their struggles and fight for their right to vote.
We need to know what our ask is. Don't just say, hey, it's important, vote. Find out, are you registered to vote? If they're not, help them out and have a small ask.
I would like to see efforts at voter suppression taken seriously and dealt with. I would like to see the Electoral College abolished.
And I think we've all learned that our democracy is very fragile, and every single person needs to be involved. And it's not just voting, it's being an activist, it's protesting, it's fundraising, it's making those phone calls, it's canvassing. There are so many things we can do to be involved citizens, and our democracy depends on it.
My vision for an inclusive, anti-racist society would require us to disrupt the link that ties race and ethnicity to opportunity.
In part, that's going to mean changing systems to help ameliorate the damage we've done in the past.
It would be made of community members that honor one another with dignity and respect of all humans, no matter age, gender, race, ethnicity, religious belief, etc.
We all have a place at the table.
An inclusive society is a society where every single member of that society feels seen and heard and valued.
It does not matter what our gender is. It does not matter what our skin color is.
People's differences would be celebrated not chastised, members would truly believe one another to be equals.
It would be a society that tomorrow works as hard on breaking the cycles of poverty as today works on perpetuating them.
Understanding other perspectives and valuing other perspectives and seeing where intentionally or not intentionally we're creating harm is important in forming an inclusive society.
This voice, this movement's really coming from our high school students, our middle school students, and college students. So yes, you are doing the work, and let's make this happen. Let's keep the momentum going. We need to hang on to this.
Now it's time for our Ally to Queer Youth Award. We are very pleased to announce and honor this year's recipient, Michelle Brandt.
Michelle has collaborated with the Safe Schools Project and Gender Spectrum to create several Understanding Gender adult summits, and often spends her weekends tabling at events to help support local families in understanding gender diversity so they are better able to support their gender expansive youth.
Michelle's years of work and commitment to helping the families of trans and gender diverse kids have undoubtedly improved the lives of countless youths and made our communities stronger and our world better.
And now, let's hear from Michelle Brandt.
Hi, everybody. I'm incredibly honored and a little bit overwhelmed to have been selected as the QYLA Ally to Queer Youth for my work with trans families of Santa Cruz County, supporting families of trans and gender expansive kids. My fellow nominees are doing amazing work, and I'm grateful for the difference that they are making in kids' lives. Parents of trans kids advocate and educate. We have one conversation at a time, explaining our children's names and pronouns and politely explaining the importance of their use. Individual conversations with teachers, doctors, receptionists, schoolmates. It's very slow work. And today, we had the opportunity to educate 50 people at our third Understanding Gender workshop for parents and adult allies. The workshop is a collaboration of the Queer Youth Task Force, Jen Salinas Holtz, who was last year's Ally to Queer Youth awardee, Jen Hastings, who is also an Ally to Queer Youth awardee, Andrea Damon, and myself, both of us from trans families. And we have the support of Gender Spectrum, who worked with us to get the workshop off the ground. In addition to a Gender 101 seminar, Jen Hastings presented a session on medical aspects of transition. Isolda Ataide presented a session in Spanish on understanding gender from a Hispanic Latina perspective, and we were able to provide simultaneous translation for the sessions that were in English. It was really amazing opportunity to reach people and just share how important affirming trans and gender diverse youth is. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to the queer community in Santa Cruz for their collaboration in my allyship. Every single piece of work that I've done has been in collaboration with people who were already here, dedicated to supporting queer youth and making the Diversity Center, the Queer Youth Task Force, Safe Schools Project, our local gender therapists, and so many others. Thank you all for welcoming me to the table, listening, and stepping up in profound ways to support my kid and collaborate with me and all of the affirming families who are members of trans families and making the world a safer place for our kids. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Michelle, for your Ally to Queer Youth Award. While we've been celebrating several queer youth leaders tonight, we must pause to recognize that they are only a fraction of the LGBTQIA+ and ally youth within Santa Cruz County.
Due to fear, intolerance, and bullying, many queer youth are closeted and invisible, even within their own families. These unsung heroes are working to end transphobia, biphobia, and homophobia, and they are struggling daily to simply live a life free from internalized and external discrimination.
To all the queer and trans youth who have had to go back into the closet because they are sheltering in place with unsupportive family, we see you. To all the youth who are facing homophobia and transphobia at home, being misgendered, or simply not being celebrated the way you should be, please know you are valid, you are loved, and we will get through this.
Although they are not able to be out tonight, we want to acknowledge the unsung heroes' presence within our community. We understand you and are always here with you.
Hey, Isaac, do you know what's happening in November?
Of course. This is an election year.
It is, and it's so important that all of our community exercise their right to vote in this election. There is so much at stake.
And not just the presidency. There are important local and state elections taking place as well. That's why I'm voting for the first time as an 18-year-old.
If you haven't already, make sure you are registered to vote. You can register to vote or update your voting address by going to voterstatus.sos.ca.gov.
That is voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. We also have a link on our website. You can find it at qyla.org.
This year, to ensure everyone's health and safety during the election, all registered voters in California will receive a vote-by-mail ballot.
Be sure your mailing address is correct and make sure you sign your ballot before you mail it. And be sure to mail your ballot back as soon as possible because all ballots must be postmarked no later than November 3rd to be counted. You can also drop off your ballot by 8 p.m. on November 3rd to any of our county's ballot box locations. You can get a list of these locations at qyla.org.
And you can always vote in person at your polling place. Just make sure to wear your mask.
We are honored to share with you a public service announcement featuring local strong LGBTQ+ ally Gail Pellerin, Santa Cruz County Clerk, and Chloe Ray Adolfo, 2019 QILA Queer Youth nominee and former QILA MC alumnus.
Gail Pellerin is a local hero in the LGBTQ+ community, and we are grateful for her work. Gail was an outspoken advocate of marriage equality as a county clerk and issuer of marriage licenses. She used her role as an elected official to widely and staunchly advocate for marriage equality.
We are also grateful to Adam Spickler, who created a series of images that say, "I'm registered and be counted," that can be shared via social media to help raise awareness on voter registration and being counted in the census. Check them out and use them. They are on the QILA website at qyla.org.
Their PSA will be airing on community TV and various local websites in Santa Cruz County as we inform every eligible voter to make sure they register and vote.
Chloe Ray here. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers, and I am a recent SoCal High School graduate, class of 2020.
I'm Gail Pellerin. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the Santa Cruz County Clerk.
I just turned 18, and I get to vote for the first time, and I'm very excited. I'm also celebrating Pride's 50-year anniversary by registering to vote. But there are two really important things that you and your friends can do to make a huge difference in this time, which is 1, registering to vote, and 2, being counted by the census. Now listen, the best way for our voices to be heard is to vote and to register to vote.
We are doing our part to stay healthy and make sure our community stays safe during this COVID pandemic.
Voting gives you power. You have it. Many people have fought for this privilege. We can vote. All you have to do is grab that chance. And the census gives our city and state federal money for us and the US legislation seats that we need for Californians. This ensures that good things can come our way, so be counted. Everybody counts. And did you know that our elected officials write laws to protect LGBTQIA+ people? If everyone votes and if everyone is counted, then we get those elected officials that we need to support us.
Both are so important and something you can really do.
Signing up to vote is easy. When I registered to vote, it took me about 4 minutes, and you can do it easily from your smartphone, laptop, computer. You can go to www.registertovote.ca.gov and fill out the online application. The online form will pull your signature from your driver's license or your state identification card. And once you sign up, you are set to get your ballot in the mail before that November 3rd election day.
Only you, your family, and friends can determine the outcome of this election.
So take the power. Use this power by getting registered to vote now so you can vote on the November 3rd election and be counted.
It's 2020. Use your power to make your voices heard.
A special thank you to Gail Pellerin, Chloe Ray Adolfo, and Adam Spickler, as well as Charlie Singer, who dreamed big about this project, and Marisol Robert Smith, who edited the PSA. Their collective spirit made this very local and LGBTQ+ voter registration visibility campaign a reality. Thank you. Remember to register to vote by October 19th and vote early. Mail in your ballots by October 15th if you can to make sure your vote is counted.
And now we get to announce tonight's third Queer Youth Leadership awardee.
Our third awardee is Jaden Hernandez Cordero. Jaden conducted research on the laws that protect LGBTQ+ youth and helped create and present an interactive training for school staff. Jaden is resilient and seeks resources to help him show up physically, mentally, and emotionally.
In addition to his activism, Jaden excels academically, earning A's in his high school and college classes. Jaden plans to be an OBGYN to provide better support to the queer and trans community around reproductive health care.
And now, let's hear from Jaden Hernandez Cordero.
Hi, thank you all for making time to be here today. It's an honor to be one of the awardees of the QYLA this year. I wanted to thank some people like my advisor, Jamie Cutter, and my therapist, Nira Butnogger, for the support that they have given me and that has pushed me to do what I'm actually capable of. I also wanted to thank the Queer and Trans Youth Council for making it possible to make a difference in this community, and Stuart for bringing back the council. I also wanted to thank my family, and I'm going to do that in Spanish. Quiero darle gracias a mi familia como mi bisabuela Benita Hernández y mis hermanas Nell y Alexa por estar a mi lado en tiempos difíciles y por animarme a no rendirme y seguir con el bien trabajo que hago. Now, I want to use the rest of my time to speak about some topics that are important to me. First of all, so I wanted to talk about the two organizations I will be splitting the money to evenly. I chose the Marsha P. Johnson Institute because they fight against the murder of Black trans women, unjust laws against trans people, and so that Black trans people do not have to fight for the right to simply just exist. This is important because all Black lives matter. This year alone, so many Black lives have been lost to the hands of others, and at least 32 transgender and non-conforming people have been murdered, and the majority were Black and Latinx transgender women. We don't get to pick and choose what Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. The other organization I will be donating to is Planned Parenthood. I chose Planned Parenthood because they support and help so many people, not only with reproductive health, but also with general health, and they are a safe place to access resources and receive the help that people actually need. Lastly, please find out if you're registered to vote, and if you're not, do it as soon as you can. The last day to register online is October 19th, and in person it's on November 3rd. So please vote if you can. It's not the answer to everything, but it can really make a difference. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jaden.
And now we get to announce tonight's fourth Queer Youth Leadership Awardee.
Our fourth awardee is Caleb Lennon. Caleb's activism for the LGBTQ+ community took off in middle school when he founded Shoreline Middle School's GSA. Now president of Cypress Charter High School's GSA, Caleb is a mentor to younger trans youth and supports their transition to high school and their growth in their identities.
Caleb is also working to form an alternative education GSA. Caleb is always willing to educate and guide teachers in creating safe classrooms for LGBTQ+ students.
And now, let's hear from Caleb Lennon.
Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you all can hear me. Thank you for all being here. I know this isn't the ideal setup, but I still feel so thankful to have such an amazing community here tonight. It's kind of funny for me to think about where I was 5 years ago, the first time I was nominated for a Queer Youth Leadership Award. I was 13 and in 8th grade. The event of the Quilas, I was actually sitting in the same room that I am right now, in my bedroom at home. The day before the Quilas, I got really sick and couldn't go to the event, and I was really disappointed. I was just starting to find myself in my community, and I was so shocked to be nominated alongside such amazing people. Even though I couldn't go, to my surprise, my family got all dressed up and went and sat at the table for me. So I want to give a big thank you to my family for being there for me always. Of course, I've grown a lot since then. I'm 18 now and I just graduated high school. And I still have the same feeling of shock to find out I was nominated for a Quila again, and even more shocked to find out that I won. I cannot emphasize enough how amazing the other awardees and nominees are. They have done so much amazing work for our community, and I feel so honored to be on the same virtual stage as them, so to speak. This year in particular has taught me a lot, including how to give speeches online, which is still intimidating even without all the eyes on you, by the way. I think back to the last meetings I held with my school's GSA before we went online, and I really cherish those moments with my community. I really want to thank everyone at Cypress High School for everything they've done for me for the past 4 years. I'm not just accepting this award for me. I'm accepting it for every LGBTQ+ youth who is struggling, who doesn't have an accepting family, can't be out at home, whatever it may be. This is for you. It sounds cliche, but 5 years ago, I genuinely didn't think I would make school, but I was so lucky to find my community. You all have done such amazing work, but it's important to acknowledge how much work we still have to do. On that note, I want to tell you that I'm planning on making my donation towards the Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project, a nonprofit that fights against human rights abuses against Black and brown trans people in California prisons, jails, detention centers, and more. So that's about it for me. Thank you everyone for being here at the Queer Youth Leadership Awards. Do me a favor and go remind your loved ones that you care about them and take care of yourself during this hard time. Thank you.
Congratulations, Caleb.
It has been an honor to pay tribute to all of this year's nominees and awardees. As we do so, we honor, remember, and celebrate the many that have come before us. They are courageous people who have worked hard, persevered, and made it possible for us to be celebrating queer youth leadership in 2020.
We are honored tonight to welcome LGBTQ+ trailblazers who fought for us decades ago so that we can celebrate all of our lives together tonight as a community.
We know we could not be here tonight if it were not for their strength, powerful and determined leadership, and bravery to be themselves in the face of adversity.
Last year, we started a new QILA tradition, highlighting the life and work of a local LGBT trailblazer. Tonight, we want to honor our own Carter Wilson.
Carter is a writer and professor whose work has reached millions of people around the world. His work on LGBT asylum continues to have a great impact.
And now we would like to share this video tribute to Carter Wilson.
I have an old friend named Judy Coburn, and she was asked, would she like to come in on the Harvey Milk Project, perhaps to write the narration for that film? And she told them she thought that there should be a gay man involved. So they interviewed me and they interviewed her, and they didn't know that we were in cahoots, both of us. And well, I guess they offered it to me, and I said, well, but I wanted Judy along. So we ended up writing the narration for that picture together. Harvey Milk was the first gay supervisor in San Francisco. He was a guy from New York who had a little camera shop on Castro Street, which was major gay avenue in San Francisco. And he just began to run for office. And the first several times he did not make it. And then he got to be a supervisor. And it was a big deal at that time because there were no gay officials really in the country at all. And here, San Francisco, kind of major city, has a gay supervisor. And Milk made an excellent supervisor. He was attentive to his own people. He was great at publicity. One of the things you see in the film is how good he does in a TV interview. And then he and the mayor were both shot in their offices by a disappointed other member of the Board of Supervisors. It was a breakthrough picture. Documentaries usually don't get into normal movie theaters, and suddenly there's this show which is very good and about this gay supervisor in San Francisco, and it got a worldwide distribution. And in fact, you can still see it every year on KQED when they run it out for Gay Pride Month. One of the important things about that picture was how much it put the gay world in front of the straight public. Pretty much everybody involved in the film was gay, and so it was I won't say it was a party. It was very, very hard work. There were 4 complete versions of that film in a period of about 3 or 4 months. And we were called in and called back and called back. And it was a lot of hard work is what it was. As an early teenager, I realized that all of my interest was in other guys. I tried to live a straight life. I had girlfriends. I posed as a straight person. I got to be in my 20s and stopped having girlfriends and kind of was nothing, a kind of a sexual neuter. And then in my early 30s, I was in love with a man. I was working in Peru, and I was in love with a man there, and that went badly. And after that, I decided that I had to work on myself to try and make myself come out of the closet. I started teaching at UC Santa Cruz in 1972. Some graduate students, people began to talk about their gay life. There was a little bit of gay underlife in the city of Santa Cruz. And then it kind of really exploded in the late 70s. I understand the difficulty because you pick up, as a kid, you pick up still some vibes that say that, somebody in your family's not I don't like homosexuals or blah, blah, something. And so you have to think about what's going to happen when you do come out to people. Now, the general result, and it's not 100%, the general result these days is basically that your family and your friends will come around, or you get new friends and you get a new family. What do I think is the key to life? I think the key to life is trying to be happy. James Taylor says the key to life is learning to enjoy the passage of time, and I think that is also a good one. But I think trying to be happy is the most important.
Thank you, Carter, for your decades of work.
Make sure to check out all of his novels. They are so cool.
Now, we'd like to take a moment to thank all the QYLA volunteers that helped make this event happen. Thank you to everyone who brought visibility to our event by sharing with your networks, posting on social media, and getting the word out. Thank you to everyone who took the time to nominate our queer youth leaders, allies, and organizations. Even though we cannot be together in person tonight, let's still give them a round of applause from our homes.
Thank you all for your incredible work.
We'll now be honoring organizations that are working to help support queer, trans, and allied youth in Santa Cruz County. Just as allies serve as important lifelines, so do community groups. We are very proud to present these following organizations.
This year, We had 2 organizations nominated jointly, and we are honored to present a joint award to them. Our organizational ally nominees are
the Santa Cruz Derby Groms and the Santa Cruz Derby Girls, inclusive organizations that have taken an active role in supporting LGBTQ+ youth across Santa Cruz County.
Here is a video montage of the Santa Cruz Derby Groms and the Santa Cruz Derby Girls.
When I found out we were nominated for this award, I felt so honored and excited. I feel very lucky to be part of an organization that has been recognized by the queer youth community in Santa Cruz.
I felt proud to be a part of a group of people who demonstrate whole heart acceptance and who have the commitment to continue to improve.
I think Santa Cruz Derby is a great organization that aligns well with the Queer Youth Leadership Awards. Long time we've been not just accepting but celebrating folks of all different genders, sexualities, body types, helping people hone their strength and feel empowered.
So to be part of one that happens to stand out in the community as one doing important work was really exciting for me to hear.
I think I'm most proud of that we've moved towards maybe valuing competition less and maybe looking more at being an inclusive league and welcoming and strengthening skaters of all levels.
We have been accepting skaters of all skill levels, all genders, and we've been accepting a lot of younger skaters as well, and I think that's pretty cool.
So one project that we're doing at Santa Cruz Derby Girls this year is actually changing our name, so we will no longer be Santa Cruz Derby Girls. We've decided to change our name to be more inclusive in alignment with the WFTDA gender policy.
Sometimes change isn't linear or immediate, so it's been super important to have people be dedicated to making this change, putting in the hours of work to actualize it, and to be engaged in the conversations to move forward to better represent our organizational members.
So my vision for a truly inclusive society is one in which people are free from violence and discrimination.
Where we are really seen for who we are, not for who we're not.
Individuals can make a difference by listening to, learning from, and amplifying the messages from Black, Brown, Indigenous voices, as well as the voices from communities of color and the queer community.
More diversity of expression of what's okay to be in the world, where there's not just one idea of normal that everyone aspires to.
Fairness and equality, those are my words, I am sticking to them.
When individuals come together in collective action, stand in solidarity, and have the continuous need for equality and will fight for it, a truly inclusive society will exist.
And now we get to announce tonight's Organizational Ally to Queer Youth Award.
The Santa Cruz Derby Groms and the Santa Cruz Derby Girls hold free skate nights for LGBTQ+ youth at the Roller Palladium and provide GSAs with free tickets to derby games. Both organizations proudly show the incredible skill, strength, and importance of LGBTQ+ athletes, and LGBTQ+ young people involved with the Santa Cruz Derby Groms harness their incredible strength, defy gender norms, and build lifelong bonds through the sport of roller derby.
Congratulations, Santa Cruz Derby Groms and Santa Cruz Derby Girls.
Thank you, Lucy, Isaac, and thank you to the Queer Youth Task Force and the Queer Youth Leadership Awards. My name is I'm a Hot Mess, and as the president of the Santa Cruz Derby Groms, it is my pleasure to accept this award on behalf of our many coaches, officials, volunteers, parents, and youth athletes. I would like to recognize Skirt Vonnegut, a retired skater and volunteer who was instrumental in securing the grant we used to fund all of our 2019 queer youth outreach events.
Hi, I'm Skirt Vonnegut. My pronouns are she, her. I just want to say it's been a real inspiration to watch and listen to this whole presentation and awards ceremony. And I want to say, without any agenda at all, no agenda at all, If 16 and 17-year-olds could vote, this world would look a lot differently. I believe in you all. You're all such an inspiration. I want to say that being a part of a sports team has really empowered me in many ways to serve my community. In fact, in ways that I didn't even expect, including this opportunity here, writing the grant for queer and trans youth. And I wanted to make sure that all youth have the same access to sports that I had and had the same access to that kind of empowerment that I felt. I also want to let everyone know that if you're going through a hard time right now, you're powerful beyond all measure. All you need to do is love yourself and find your team. And with that, I will hand it off to Coach Grief Erickson.
Hi, I am Coach Grief Erickson. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm so proud of the Santa Cruz Derby Groms for providing a safe and inclusive environment where everyone is welcome equally. And I'm excited to see them win this award. And I'm so honored to get to be a part of this organization as a coach. Thank you.
We've had a great time, haven't we? I know it would have been so good to all have been together, but for what the times are, it was pretty good, huh? So we will say, see you soon, safely together.
I like that. See you soon, safely together. Well, everyone, I'm afraid that is the end of this year's show.
So you had a good time, right?
Sure did.
Once again, I'd like to thank you all for attending our first ever virtual Queer Youth Leadership Awards to honor Santa Cruz County's queer and trans youth leaders, allies, and their families.
Next year, we look forward to celebrating our 24th annual Queer Youth Leadership Awards.
Be safe and vote. Goodbye.